All right, guys, I am starting to stream this live right now before I even have everybody online. If you're listening to this on YouTube, you can go and fast forward to when we start. It should be here pretty soon. You don't fast forward, you listen to a lot of dead air or me sniffling. Hi, Shakita. Oh, hi. Alrighty.
Hello.
Hello, Karen.
Hi.
Hi, Gina.
Hi.
Gina,
Hi.
Karen, Gina.
Hello.
Hi, Karen.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Great.
All right.
Nice.
I guess there's obviously no top 5. We'll start off with talking about The Room and episodes. Yeah, I guess not much to set up. We can get started immediately. I'm streaming this live too, so if people have stuff to chime in, then they will. All right. So we'll go me first, then Karen, then Gina.
Okay.
Welcome to the Watch and Talk. I'm Dylan Chuck.
I'm Karen Peterson.
And I'm Gina Murtalo.
In this podcast, we're going to be discussing The Disaster Artist, as well as a little room retrospective, if you will. And you can hear all of our previous reviews on thewatchandtalk.com. And as always, big shout out to our Patreon subscribers. If you want to be a supporter of the show, you can go to patreon.com/thewatchandtalk. Big shout out to our premium supporters, Shakita, June, and Kaka. Also, if you hear some of us respond to somebody or refer to somebody in the chat, or basically me say that, it's because we stream these episodes live on YouTube. You can search for The Watch and Talk on YouTube and subscribe, and it will give you notifications when we go live, and you can join the conversation. All right. So we're here to talk about The Disaster Artist, which, Karen, you've already seen 3 times?
Twice.
Whoa.
Couldn't
I
make
was
it
going to go again last night, but I couldn't make it, so.
we actually, Gina and I saw it together yesterday. We actually went and saw it in IMAX.
Nice.
Cannot believe that this movie is screening in IMAX. That's very Tommy Wiseau of them.
It is.
It's going to be a big IMAX movie. You'll see. Don't worry.
Real Hollywood IMAX movie.
So yeah, so that goes to show you automatically, I guess, what Karen thought of the movie. I don't think that you're gonna hate a movie and see it a bunch of times, even though, hey, how many times have we seen The Room? But I don't know if it's
About
a movie.
10
But you
times in the
can't
last
hate
month.
The
Yeah,
Room,
it's
though.
on-
That's the thing.
Before we even talk about that, on the subject of The Room, which is considered one of the worst movies of all time, I just wanted to briefly discuss a new trailer that just came. I think Karen's gonna know what trailer I'm talking about.
That I do.
So briefly, just wanted to mention the new Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom trailer. Gina, you probably haven't seen this, right?
Yep, no idea.
All right, so we'll discuss this for a minute.
Go ahead.
Oh dear.
All right, so I think most people know what I thought about Jurassic World. Jurassic Park is my favorite movie of all time. And Jurassic World was actually the first movie podcast that I did. I was just doing TV show podcasts. And then when Jurassic World came out, I was so offended by it that I was like, we got to do a podcast episode on this because I want to rip this movie to shreds.
Nice. Yeah.
The first movie was a suspense movie. The first Jurassic Park movie was a suspense movie / sci-fi horror. That's what Jurassic Park was. And I know that we've kind of forgotten about that because the sequels continue to kind of pile on this action movie that it's turned into. But Jurassic World had none of the spark that Jurassic Park had. None of the chemistry that movie had. It completely lost the idea of the movie completely. I hated it. I understand why people would like it. Not even to mention Vincent D'Onofrio as this terrible mustache-twirling villain. That was nothing like Nedry was the villain of the first movie, and he was completely understood of why he was doing what he's doing. He wasn't doing because he's a mustache-twirling evil person. He did it because he had financial issues. So we just thought he'd sell something, make some quick money, because he wasn't paid enough, even though he spares no expense. I think John Hammond was very Tommy Wiseau like that. He'd spend a lot of money on certain things, but not on other things.
Except that there's a part where they're talking about it very briefly, and Nedry makes the comment about what he bid on that job. So he's the one who set the price that Hammond paid him. So,
and
just
also,
saying.
it also seemingly made it seem like he was stupid with his money.
Yeah.
So he was just a dumb guy as far as that goes, and it got him disemboweled by a Dilophosaurus. So. Spoiler alert for Jurassic Park.
Can I drop some weird, unrelated Vincent D'Onofrio knowledge on you?
That's all we want.
His daughter is dating Sean Penn.
Really?
Wait, his daughter is?
Yes, Vincent D'Onofrio's daughter, who's like pretty young, is dating Sean Penn.
Dear.
I don't know why I know that. I went on a weird Instagram tangent a couple weeks ago and saw that and made the connections, and it blew my mind.
Oh my gosh.
So, anyway. The trailer for... I always said... now, Marvel movies... I've in the past, year or two, I've really come around on Marvel movies, and I'm not just a blanket Marvel movie hater like I was for a little while. One thing that they've done the best always is do really good trailers.
Yes.
I thought Marvel has really done really good trailers. Even if I haven't been excited for the movies, one of my favorite trailers in recent years was the Age of Ultron trailer, where it didn't focus necessarily on a bunch of action. It really focused on James Spader as Ultron and some of his chilling lines that he had in it. And I thought that was a really awesome trailer, and it was really well cut together. I just cannot... This trailer for Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom that just came out, first of all, they start off focusing on a couple that probably have as much chemistry as Natalie Portman and Hayden Christensen in Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard. They just don't gel together, and maybe I don't know. I don't know whose fault that is, and that's a whole nother podcast episode itself. But it starts off with them, and then it switches to the island, and it's just oddly paced because it just shows a scene from the movie that's kind of edited down.
Yeah.
And it also shows the T-Rex again from the first movie, we're assuming, right?
Yeah, we're assuming that. We don't know for sure, but
it looks like it, right? Mm-hmm. And it saves the day again, like it did in Jurassic Park and in Jurassic World. Like they haven't done that enough, right?
Right.
in the same way as the scene in episode 1 of The Phantom Menace, there was always a bigger fish, which doesn't make any sense. Why is that even a line that he says in that movie? Anyway, it just and then it's taking this big, stupid action movie on this island, and then it starts geostorming it with this big natural disaster that's happening there. I just think it was such a weirdly cut together trailer, not exciting at all. And Karen and I were talking about this on Twitter, how it did nothing even. I would have expected them to even show like a different side of it. So people that didn't necessarily like Jurassic World, and why would they even care about the people that didn't like Jurassic World? It made $1.5 billion, so I don't think they really care. But at least something for them to say, hey, this is at least going to be a different movie, different experience. It looked like an hour was put into Jurassic World with a volcano.
Yeah, exactly. The only thing about the trailer that I was like, that's potentially interesting, was the Jeff Goldblum stuff.
Which seems like that's
testifying, but it seems
everybody
so
seems
weird
like
and
they
out
saw
of place.
his whole scene.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure.
It seems like we've seen his whole scene, and it didn't seem like like Ian Malcolm. It seemed like Jeff Goldblum.
Exactly.
So I don't know. He seems to be testifying, saying let these. So the plot seems to be that Jurassic World now is on a volcanic island, and the volcano is going to go off and kill all the dinosaurs. And it seems like he's testifying, let them die.
Be a bad thing.
He seems to be testifying, let them all die, which seems like something he would be testifying, right, for his character. But because it wouldn't make sense to bring him back, which is be almost a senior citizen now. So hopefully they're not trying to bring him back to the island. That wouldn't make much sense. But
what do you have against senior citizens?
I don't have nothing. That's for a whole other podcast episode. Let's talk about senior citizens. But yeah, it's Karen said it best. I've never seen a Jurassic Park trailer where I felt so little.
Mm-hmm.
And, I said my excitement level, The Lost World, of all of the movies, The Lost World was the one I was the most excited for. Like, that was just, I was so excited for The Lost World. I was excited for Jurassic Park, but I was 7. I saw it in the theaters. I was like, hey, dinosaur movie, cool. But The Lost World, it was just another level. I was just so excited for that movie. And I was really excited for Jurassic Park 3. I was excited for Jurassic World. And this one, it's just like, I'm going to go, like, I was just had this blankest look on my face while watching the trailer for Jurassic World 2. And, that movie's coming out next summer. I'm sure
exactly.
We'll be reviewing it. And I just can't believe they put together such it looked like a fan trailer, a fan-made trailer.
It did. It really did. I was like, my problem with it was, if this is the best they can show us, that does not give me any hope that this movie is going to be good.
Somebody responded, it's a teaser. And I'm like, it's not a teaser. It's 2.5 minutes. It's 2.5, 3 minutes.
And it's marked as the official trailer.
Right. Yeah, teaser is like the scene of the disaster artist, the when he can't get the oh hi Mark line right.
Right.
It's a teaser to shows one little scene, whatever, and it goes on for a minute and a half.
Well, and earlier in the week, they had showed an 8-second and a 15-second teaser to build up to the release of the official trailer. Right. So
I don't even like seeing Chris Pratt in this film series either, even though he's in 2 of the biggest film series like of all time now, with Guardians of the Galaxy and Jurassic World. So he's one of the biggest stars on the planet. But
yeah, the problem is it's not Chris Pratt; it's the character that they gave him was just so uninteresting. Right. So.
All right, so that's Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom. We're excited to see it, obviously. I guess Shakita in the chat just said, "Are you going to see it, Dylan?" Yes, of course I'll see it. We'll be reviewing it here on the Watch and Talk, unless a better movie comes out that same week. No, I'm just joking. All right, let's get into the Disaster Artist / The Room, and we'll start off with talking about The Room. So where do I start on The Room? Okay, so The Room, I guess we'll all kind of go around and talk about our relationship with The Room.
Yeah, I like that.
I think Gina and I are going to be very similar. I think Gina and I are both friends here in San Diego, and Gina does the Deuce Drop podcast with me, where we talk about the TV show The Deuce. So check that out at thedeucedrop.com, by the way. So I think for years and years I've seen these clips of this movie on YouTube, and all the worst movies of all time clips. and it kind of blended in with the other ones, with the Troll 2 and the kind of other lines that we see in those movies. And for a long time, I kind of after seeing enough of them, I kind of had them memorized, and eventually I started focusing in on this. Something drew me to this movie. I can't say what it was, but eventually it just happened. And I remember hearing that they're making this movie about it with James Franco, and that was like 3 years ago that they announced that. So we've been waiting a long time. And as time went on, I heard that they did midnight screenings, and I meant to go check them out because I had never seen the movie all the way through. By the time that I went to see the screening, I had seen not just I feel like there's like 3 or 4 layers of the clips. There's a couple really famous ones like "You're Tearing Me Apart, Lisa" and "Oh Hi Mark," the ones that everybody knows. And then there's a couple more in depth. So that's where you get into "Oh Hi Doggy," "You're My Favorite Customer, Thanks a Lot, Bye," and just some more common ones as far as that goes. And then there's probably you can find on YouTube
the deep cuts.
20 minutes of 25 minutes of more deep cuts. And there's even more when you actually see the whole movie of new characters that I didn't even know. I was like, I felt like after I saw the 25 minute preview, I pretty much understood the whole movie. And then there's the whole extra characters I didn't even know about, like who never shows up in any of is the Stifler character. We always call him Stifler.
You might have to explain that one.
Yeah, he's the guy with the frosted tips, who we first meet in in the apartment with one of Lisa's friends, and they're kind of fooling around, and we had no introduction to them. And
right. Nope.
And that I didn't actually meet those characters until I actually saw the actual movie, and finally I went and saw a midnight screening here in San Diego of this, and that was my first time seeing the movie. And Gina and I can have the debate on how we think that everybody should watch the movie for the first time. I think it should be seen at a midnight screening for the first time. Gina thinks that you should see it in your home
alone
at first.
On YouTube.
I just cannot disagree more with that, but I think either way, it's just like the debate on which order you want to watch Star Wars in. After you've seen it all, after you've seen it in both ways, you've seen it the way you're supposed to, because as bad as this movie is, I can't stop watching it, and I can't stop wanting to watch it. It is, there was a great Q&A with Seth Rogen and Dave Franco and James Franco, that they were having this conversation, and they're like, you can say this is the worst movie of all time, and it's a really bad movie and all that, but I've seen this movie more than I've seen Schindler's List. I've seen this movie more times than I've seen Citizen Kane. I could watch this movie more times than I could watch Schindler's List in my lifetime. I can guarantee you I will die having seen this movie, The Room, more times than I've seen Schindler's List. And I find it infinitely rewatchable. And it's like those movies that are really complex, that the more you watch it, the more you find things out. That's the same thing as The Room. And I talked to Gina about it, and I'm like, I feel like every week there's a new line from The Room that I really just get stuck in my head, that I keep saying and walk around saying it, because it's just it just has that appeal. And there's something about the film that is, we were really getting a glimpse into the way Tommy Wiseau thinks, because this is one of the only movies that is this accessible that had no other collaboration except for Tommy Wiseau as far as putting the movie together, right? Like, he didn't accept anybody's input on anything. He was very hostile to it. He was very argumentative, and he refused to listen to what people were telling them to do, which makes it so, I don't want to say brilliant, because this is not purposely brilliant, right? It took 10 years for Tommy Wiseau to finally be like, oh yeah, it's a comedy, and laugh along with people. But at first he was really hostile to that, and didn't want to do interviews, wouldn't talk to people. He was fed up with this world. But since then, he's come around a lot more. I mean, now he's completely embraced it, and
he's profiting from it.
From it. And this concerns me why he's doing a follow-up movie called Best Friends, and Friends is in parentheses. I was talking to Gina about this. Obviously, we're going to see Best Friends when it comes out. We'll probably see it as soon as we can when it comes out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we needed to hit theaters.
But see, I don't know if he's going to be able to recapture it because The Room wasn't purposely funny, and he acts like it is, but it was not, and that's what makes it so great, is that it was not on purpose. So it concerns me about making another one like that. So we'll see how it goes. It's almost guaranteed to. I just can't imagine the magic of The Room captured. But in closing, which isn't really closing because I'm sure I have plenty more to say about The Room. I just want to let somebody else talk for a minute. I cannot recommend seeing this movie enough. It's accessible on YouTube. You can search for the.
You know what,
Room
Dylan?
Full.
I checked last night, and the last posting that was up on YouTube has now been taken down.
Is there any?
So
well, whatever. I don't want to.
I don't know.
This is the time for them to take it down.
Anything
Right.
illegal, but I had a hard time accessing it. So but I would say it's worth the $10 to like buy the DVD on Amazon.
The Blu-ray sold out right now on Amazon. The DVD is $10 on Amazon. I actually just this morning ordered The Disaster Artist, the paperback book, and a movie that's called The Guide to the Room or something like that, or not a movie, a book, which breaks it down in 10-minute chunks. Breaks down the book, which I can't wait to read.
Nice.
I considered getting the DVD, and I've completely switched to digital movies now. Like I have a digital movie collection now, and it's not available to buy digitally.
It's not available.
Yeah, it's not available to buy digitally. They need to.
I think with The Disaster Artist coming out, it's going to get harder to find it easily online. I mean, for the last several months, the full movie's been free on YouTube. And so I would just go on there and watch it stream. I looked last night, nothing is up on YouTube of the full movie. So unfortunately, I think with the popularity of The Disaster Artist, they're going to get better at taking down but like, honestly, it will be the best $10 you've ever spent on, the first DVD you've probably bought in 5 years. I'm going to buy it because...
But you need it in HD quality, though, Gina. You need it in HD quality.
Well, where am I going to get it? It doesn't exist.
I'm just joking. You
got to work with what you got.
You don't need it in HD quality. But yeah,
you did see it in IMAX.
It's. I feel like New Line Cinema should purchase the rights of this movie from Wazo Films.
Yes.
With the two
it's
title
my
cards.
Understanding that the intention is to distribute it as a combo pack when Disaster Artist hits DVD and Blu-ray.
Man, that warms
Smart.
my heart.
Yeah.
But might as well make on some money now, or it's distributing it itself.
Right.
But yeah, I can't wait to get because I've been waiting for the digital download to be available, so I just have it in my collection. Anyway, so yeah, since then I have gone to I've only gone to 2 midnight screenings. The reason I wanted to record this originally on Sunday was because we're also going to a midnight screening tonight, or I'm going to a midnight screening tonight. And it is I wanted to have like that extra amping from it. Didn't work out necessarily, but yeah, it is. I cannot recommend enough. Anybody that lives in a city of more than 300,000 people probably has some theater somewhere in your town that does midnight screenings of this once every 2 months or so. It is it's one of the most fun things you can have in the cinema.
There's a website. I was on a big The Room tangent last night, all hopped up on seeing The Disaster Artist. Tommy Wiseau's website for The Room is freaking hilarious. Mm-hmm. It's like super outdated and just very like weird links, but it lists every theater that The Room screens in. Oh man! So like Dylan and I go see it at the Ken in San Diego. It's on there. It says at the Ken monthly screenings, Portland, LA, Liverpool. It shows a list, literally a list of different size fonts, different colors, like very weirdly formatted. But it'll tell you every theater that it's in. So I highly suggest just Google The Room, go to the official website, and take a look around, not only for information, but for just an interesting ride.
And Tommy Wiseau, he has trailers before the movie that he has an underwear company.
Yep, you can buy them on that website.
I actually, now that I think about it, I have to get a pair. Now that I think about it. I don't know why didn't I do that. But yeah, so I'll explain why I think it's better to see it in the theater first. Now, when you see it in the theater, you're gonna miss arguably 2/3
All
of
of
the
it?
movie because everybody in the theater is laughing, is yelling, is throwing things, and it's just, it's just you're gonna miss a lot of the plot that you don't need. But
plot.
yeah, exactly. You're gonna miss a lot of the some silly dialogue and all that kind of stuff. But for me, that just gave me this Pavlovian thing. When I watch it, I am thinking of it the way that you watch it when you watch it in the crowd, like the things you yell at the screen, and when you see Greg Sestero on the screen, everyone goes Greg Sestero, just things like that. And it just then created that experience for me. So when I watched it afterward, I'm way more hyped. I feel like if I watched it for the first time, I definitely feel like alone is a bad idea. I definitely think it needs to be with somebody. But I just feel like I wouldn't have got that experience if I watched it at home and then went and saw the movie. But
can I give my counterpoint?
Yes, give your counterpoint.
So we've debated this. And this kind of came up last night. I think Dylan and I are just kind of different watchers of things in certain ways. And I said, I'm a context person. I like to have a lot of background information on things and, know the whole picture of things before I go into something. I just feel like for me, I appreciate the little things more and I'm catching on to different levels. And so my favorite, the way I started The Room is I just watched it at home. I had heard of it for years. I actually thought it was a horror movie, and I hate horror movies, so I didn't want to watch it because based on that black and white picture close-up of Tommy Wiseau that you usually see as like the front of the box for The Room, I thought it was going to be scary. So I'd heard of it, but I just never watched it out of fear.
You hadn't seen the clips, though, at that point?
Not like years ago. Years ago, I hadn't seen the clips. I just knew it was this cult classic, and it looked he's terrifying looking. So I thought it was a horror movie, and never
he's not a villain. He's a hero.
Never really seeked it out. Then I heard they're making The Disaster Artist. Then I started looking up clips, and it was right up my alley. And then I watched it. I mean, I'm also just I'm like a kid. I can't wait for things. So when I saw that it was free on YouTube, I was like, well, I'm watching it immediately. Cleared my schedule. And I really enjoyed watching it on my own and with I've now subsequently shown it to all my friends, pretty much forcing them to watch.
What were their experiences watching it? This is another reason.
So this is pretty much how it goes. I tell them it's one of those movies that's so bad it's good. It's hilarious. I tell them it starts off kind of like a softcore porn. So you do have to get past like the first 20 minutes of it because there's like 3 sex scenes. And then after that, it really picks up into just insanity and plot holes and weird acting in the best kind of way. So I usually preface it with like, it's gonna seem like a porn, but it's not. And then we'll get into like the more funny moments. And usually they trust me.
Yeah, but haven't you had experiences a lot of people falling asleep? Well, yeah,
that's because I usually show it to them after like a night out at the bars at like midnight. It's a poor choice timing wise on my part.
You can't fall asleep. I remember one of our friends, Rachel, who you showed it to, and she fell asleep during it.
My friends are also the type that fall asleep during movies. I know, but I cannot fall asleep during a movie.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of that. She said, "Oh, I can't go to the midnight screening. I'll fall asleep. I fall asleep in movies." And I was like, "Rachel, you cannot fall asleep during this midnight screening. If you do, you don't have to go to a doctor. You have narcolepsy.
Something's wrong.
You have narcolepsy. You can go to get. I'm sure, like you could get medication immediately for it, because it's impossible to fall asleep with everybody screaming and yelling and trashing the place, throwing spoons in the air and laughing."
The live one you cannot fall asleep in, agreed. If it's, a night out at the bars and then your friend drags you over to like watch this weird movie, that's when my friends have fallen asleep during it.
Right.
However, when they can stay awake, it's pretty much just starting with oh my God, what is this? The first reaction is definitely confusion.
Yeah.
And then it turns into finding the humor in it.
Yeah.
And then it's just super, super fun. And I kind of like knowing each moment of the movie before we went to the live screening because, like you said, you miss a lot. I wouldn't understand, like, why people are yelling. And I wouldn't be looking forward in anticipation to those moments that I enjoyed on a personal level. Like, I liked getting excited knowing something was coming up at the live screening because I had seen it before.
I didn't know why people were yelling, and I saw it with somebody that didn't for a lot of them, but you figure it out as you go along. The hardest thing for me to understand was... the hardest thing
in my opinion, I like to... I don't know, just for me. Like, it could be different for everyone, but I like to kind of have that insider knowledge before I go into something.
The hardest thing for me to understand what was happening was the bulge in Lisa's neck. That I didn't understand. I was like, "What's everybody doing? What's everybody making sounds about right now? Why is everybody making the sound?" And somebody like heard me from in a row ahead of me, and they were like, "Look at her neck." And they showed it, and or then it happened again, and I was like, "Oh, what?" Because you won't notice that if you're watching by yourself. I mean, maybe you do, but you probably won't notice that when you're watching by yourself. And I didn't even notice when everybody's yelling while it was happening in the theater. And apparently, the actress said she tried to recreate that. Has never been able to recreate that. Had no idea what was happening. That was a once in a lifetime thing for her. But yeah. So I agree to some extent. I just think that I had seen so many YouTube clips of it that I had so much already, ready for it, and it was the extra little things in there that I didn't know. And the thing was, when I finally sat down and watched it, not in the theater, there was a whole new experience that I got then after that also. So either way, I think the point is you should do it all the different ways. You should watch it, with friends at your home.
Do both.
You should watch it in the theater.
Absolutely. Like, I watched it at home a couple of years ago. A friend of mine was like, "Oh my gosh, you love movies. You got to watch this. It's so amazing how bad it is." And I just want to correct you too, by the way, Dylan. People are no longer calling it the worst movie of all time. They're calling it the greatest bad movie of all time, which is different.
Quite a correction.
So, but yeah, so this friend of mine was like, "Oh, you got to watch this movie." So we watched it, and I was just like, "Oh my gosh, this is insane how bad this is." But it was so watchable that I wanted to see it again, and eventually I got the DVD. But I didn't see it in a theater with a crowd until just about like a month and a half ago. They had a press screening to prepare people who had never seen it before, so they could get ready for the Disaster Artist. And
that was
so
after we discussed it, right? Because we did an episode.
Yes.
And I told you about the midnight screening, right?
Yeah, because I had never been to a screening in a theater. And so it was probably like a week or two right after that, actually. And I actually went with Courtney Howard. And so it really was like watching it as a brand new film. It was like I had never seen it before. It was so crazy how interactive the audience was, because there were press people there, but there were also just a bunch of fans that had been invited too. So it was just perfect. They passed out plastic spoons when we walked in. It was at the Sunset 5, which is actually the theater that screened it for those first 2 weeks back in 2003. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, it was fantastic, and
I feel like that would be like in the movie when they go to visit where James Dean had died.
Yes.
I feel like that would be the experience of seeing that where it was where the magic originally started.
Exactly. So,
but here's the crazy thing too about it is there's not 5 minutes that goes by without something that is hilarious.
Right. Yeah.
It's not 5 minutes before not something that is kind of chuckly. It's like you don't have 5 minutes without something hilarious, and you won't necessarily. I mean, you'll probably get that, but when you see it, there's nothing that isn't already planned for the whole crowd to do every 5 minutes of this movie at least, and probably
we chant
even more often
water every time there's water on screen
and fire.
It's a constant barrage of screaming.
Yes,
and it's great.
Yes, people have figured a way to fill in all the blanks and make a new tradition that has somehow spread across the country. I feel like every time I hear somebody, everybody has a similar experience. I was there like representatives that split off and went all across the country to make sure to get the like how do they have all the traditions in every single theater?
I think it is like a small group of people who maybe didn't communicate in person, but like, I mean, the internet with like fan pages.
Right.
There's like a
there's
street team. Yeah, there's like a street team you can join on his website. That it's like if you want to help promote the room, you can. I almost signed up for it.
No, I was about to say, and what happened to your application? Have you gotten an email back yet, Gina?
I might be applying for that. Where you can like, I guess they'll give you like flyers to pass out and stuff. So I think
That's
people are that into it where they really maybe did travel around or at least like communicate and kind of get the word out about what you do at the shows.
When we saw it and we took our friend Rachel, the response she said was, "That's the most fun I've had in the theater."
Oh yeah. How could you not have fun?
It's like, do we all agree that that's like, it's not that you've never had more fun, but it's at the level of maximum fun you could possibly have in a theater. Like, the fact that I'm going to see it in less than 12 hours in the theater, I'm sitting here just getting so excited. Like, like I was saying yesterday before we saw the Disaster Artist, that I was like, I feel like I'm seeing Star Wars right now. I'm so excited.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what this has become for me. It's like, this is magic that I think is unrecreatable of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
The humor that is unlike any humor you've ever seen in your life. Like it's so the humor is so unintentional that it's a type of laughter you can't get anywhere else. And the conversation topics, like every time we watch it, there's a new thing for us to discuss. Why did they do this? Why did he decide to do this? This makes no sense as to why he decided to do this. And then we just have a good laugh about it. It's just been so infinitely funny. I don't think there's been another movie that has provided so much smiling from me than this movie, and that's something to be said for Tommy Wiseau. While he didn't necessarily do what he attempted to do, he was trying to get a movie that that you wouldn't be able to sleep for 2 weeks because you'd be so devastated. But he did make a movie that
elicits a response
that we're thinking about and discussing for that long, and that his goal was to get into the Oscars, and he might finally inadvertently get to the Oscars if
it's true
for the Disaster Artist.
Well, it's the Room is the perfect example of something that we debate about on Award Circuit all the time, the difference between best and favorite, because some people over there are of the opinion that they can't be different.
What?
And thank you. Exactly. And I think The Room is a perfect example of how they are different, because it's not a good movie. It's a terrible movie, but it's one of my favorite movies,
Right.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
I don't even think The Room is in that. I don't think it's even in that barometer. Like, best or favorite or anything. It's just in its own planet, right?
Yeah.
How Tommy wants to have his own planet. This movie takes place in another planet. So
another dimension,
right? So it's not even. I don't even think it's comparable to other films. I don't think you can compare it to films. I think we need another name for it other than a film. This is more an experience.
It's an experience,
right? Yeah,
it's about life.
It's interactive. It's about understanding life. Do you? But again, it is. Some people are gonna draw to it more than others. Obviously, Gina and I, we've gotten
we like it.
Yeah, we've gotten buy-ins from our friends. Obviously, we are the captains of this club. There's nobody that really, and it's hard to get converts, to be honest. And it's hard to get people to come. Why would I want to go to this midnight screen? What? And I'm like, no, you just have to come. Like, it's so fun. But it's like I said, it makes me question what it means to be bad, because there's some of the worst movies I've seen in the past couple of years. I can name Jack Reacher, Never Go Back. I thought Secret Life of Pets was one of the worst movies of the past couple of years.
The Circle.
Pawn Sacrifice. The Circle's another world. And it's so bad, and it is. I kind of compared it to you like it's like The Room that was made by competent filmmakers, but it's not rewatchable. It was frustrating to rewatch. Just because it was like, what are you dickheads doing? This is so awful. So I there's no other movie that's bad that can capture this attention from me. I can't think of another movie that's so bad that I want to rewatch it. Karen, can you think of anything in the realm of that? That most of the movies I think are bad and I don't want to rewatch. I attempted to get back there with The Circle. I got a bunch of friends together to watch The Circle because I was like, this movie is so bad, you have to see it to believe it. Have you seen The Circle, Karen?
I did not. I skipped that one.
Yeah, so. It's so bad you have to see it, and I think you should see it. But my rewatch wasn't that as enjoyable as I was hoping, and I never want to revisit that again in my life.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what some really bad movies are that I enjoy watching, and I really can't think of anything.
You know what comes to my mind, not necessarily a movie, and I hope this will make sense and land, but I also have a bit of an obsession with Nick Cage.
Right.
And I think what it is, he is a good actor. He's great, but the projects that I love are the ones that just get so bizarre and so mind-boggling, but there's such commitment from him that I find it fascinating. Wicker Man is a movie that I love to watch. It's terrible, but I actually watch that over and over again because his performance is so bizarre yet so committed.
I'm gonna have to revisit that with you. I don't even think I've seen that movie the whole way through.
Oh, we should definitely watch that together.
Yeah.
So I kind of compare it to that, where it's like this bizarre fascination that keeps me coming back for more.
But you can't deny the commitment, right? Like, so, like,
I
that's
think
another
that's
thing
what
about
I
Tommy
respond
Wiseau.
to,
That's
is the
another thing about Tommy
commitment,
Wiseau, right? And even,
Yep.
but see, with Tommy Wiseau, it's not even a commitment as an actor; it's a commitment as a director.
Yeah,
right? His commitment to this insanity that
and
you see taking
producer and
place,
writer and everything,
and that it's all separate title cards for all of those.
Yeah.
I know, I love it.
It's you know, and it's so obvious that he didn't listen to anybody, and that you know, we all did. You finish the book, The Disaster Artist, Karen?
I did, yeah.
So we all three have also read or listened to the audiobook of The Disaster Artist, of the book that was written by Greg Sestero, who plays Mark. He wrote the book that this movie is based off the book. And, you know, we get an understanding about how I think what the book did so well was show everybody was really trying to say, dude, this isn't make sense. This is bad. Like, why are you doing this? And he was so hostile toward them, which I think the movie didn't show enough, was him showing, or him telling people they're unprofessional while being unprofessional. It reminds me almost of Donald Trump. Right? How Donald Trump will
it's that
commit
ego.
to his hypocrisy and have no problem with it whatsoever. And
well, speaking of which,
they're mentally unstable people.
I ran a poll like a week or two ago. Who would make a better president, Donald Trump or Tommy Wiseau?
I think it'd be similar.
God.
I think it'd be similar.
And
we'd have a lot more
Wiseau won by a lot.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's very similar to them not taking apparently, you know, we're not in the room with either of them, at least last time I checked. So we don't know. It's just what we are gathering from the way that they present themselves and from what we've heard from other people is they don't take other people's. They're not really listening to feedback. They don't have anybody like that that can be honest with them and shoot to them straight. And that they're hostile toward that, and that you learn that if you do that, things are worse for you. So it's better to shut up and do what they're saying and move on, because otherwise your life isn't better off. Now, in some situations, running the country, maybe that's not so good. But for a bad movie that is capturing Tommy's world, it's like if he listened to what people told him, we would never have known this movie. We would never know him. We would never have known any of this. This wouldn't be a part of our lives.
Right. It would have just gone on into obscurity, and probably 5 people would have ever seen it, and that's it.
And it would have been out of the theater immediately and been done. And instead, not only has it gained so much popularity over the past, 14 years since it came out, which, by the way, it seems like it came out 25, 30 years ago.
Especially if you look at it.
Sure does.
You just can't believe it can't. It's really weird, too, in the movie when it's showing other movies, like posters on their wall or movies that they go and see. You're like, wow, this movie is a modern movie. And it came out, and this came out, the Room came out after it. It's bizarre. So anyway, what grade do we give The Room? A+ all around?
Oh, beyond.
It's not gradable.
Yes, exactly.
It's not gradable.
Grading it is
just
comparing
a way
it to
of
other
life.
films. Right, yeah.
Right.
But I do want to leave this with saying you are in for such a treat if you go and see this at a midnight screening.
Do yourself the favor. It is awesome.
it.
There are lots of theaters that show it, and most of them don't even charge crazy high ticket prices. So.
Yeah, it's $9.
No, not at all.
It's $9 to go see it.
I'm seeing it next Friday for $10 in Santa Ana. So yeah.
And see, after I went once, I leave going, I'm going to every time they screen this. It is so much fun. And it's just fun. Everybody together in the room is just in on this joke. And it's not just. Here's the thing: we're not just making fun of the movie. We're all just interacting with it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's
we're like reveling in the absurdity to a point where it's just so enjoyable and celebratory.
Yeah.
Yes. And like, you have all these people, all of the people in the room together that are watching the same nonsense as you, and they've accepted it, and they've accepted it a long time ago, and now they've embraced it, and we're all just cheering along with it, and we're cheering on. We have our heroes that we like. We like Johnny; he's the hero, and Mark is the hero, and Greg Sestero, and we boo the Seth Rogen character when his name comes on the credits, and when we see Lisa's name. Comes on the screen. We go boo, like everyone boos Lisa because we've just embraced it, and the people treat it like a sporting event. And then when the football scene comes around, there's people that dress up like Mark and they run around and they throw the football from close range because he doesn't know what football is, so he thinks it's people going around and throwing a football from 2-3 feet away, as we
in tuxedos
And that he thinks that when you're calling somebody chicken, instead of going chick, like, oh, you're chicken, that it's cheap. So everybody in the movie does that. They go cheap. And that's not what happens in America. That's not.
Well, and the dialogue
maybe that's a Louisiana thing. That's a Louisiana thing.
Silly and simplistic too, and that's one of the things that makes it so great. Like, one of my favorite parts is when they're having that party, and he's like, "This is beautiful. You invited all my friends.
Good thinking."
Good thinking. Like, he thinks that's what Americans say.
Right. You invited all my friends to my birthday party. Good thinking.
Who wouldn't do that?
You're right. Smart. Also, like, when he goes into the flower shop and he's like, "How much for? May I have a dozen red roses, please?" And then she says, "Hi, Johnny. Didn't see you there." And they're like,
she's looking right at her.
What do you mean by that? What the fuck do you mean by you didn't see him there? You didn't know it was you. I didn't know it was you. And then also they make it seem like he goes and buys flowers every day. And then he says, "There you go." Or, "How much is it?" It's like $7. There you go. Keep the change. Hi, Dougie. You're my favorite customer. Thanks a lot. Bye. It's like, wait, you didn't know how much it is, but you seemingly buy. You're your favorite customer. You have never bought a dozen red roses from this place before. But anything for my princess. That's the idea. Also that
leave your stupid comments in your pocket.
Ellen.
Oh God. That's the best.
Also that Denny. By the way, Denny's name is Denny, not Danny.
Right.
Yeah.
So the whole time I was
Denny
until the credits rolled that said Denny, I was like, I thought he was pronouncing Danny funny, but his name is Denny.
Right.
And he was like, how old am I supposed to be? You know, like your age, like 16, 17. He's like, I'm 26. The actor who plays Denny in The Room is older than Lisa. He's older than Greg Sestero. He's 2 years older than Greg Sestero, and he plays this kid. And he doesn't even know, like... And also the fact is that everybody was only given the pages for their scenes, and it's so obvious that nobody knew what was going on with the plot. They just got their pages and acted it and had no context for anything, right?
Well, not that they would have gotten context anyway, even if they read the whole thing, because the plot is so full of plot holes.
Also, that Denny goes and tells him, I think I'm in love with your future wife. Not fiance. He never says the word fiance. It's
hashtag future wife.
Future wife. And he goes up to him and tells him, hey, I think I'm in love with Lisa, and I don't know, my feelings are complicated. And he's like, Lisa loves you too. As a person, as a human being. As a human being. If a lot of people love each other, the world would be a better place to live. And the reaction in the theater during the midnight screenings for that, everyone claps like he just really said this speech.
Save the world.
Save the world.
I mean, that would be a good campaign slogan for him if he were to run for president.
She loves you too.
Well, he's all-American boy, so.
Yeah. Straight out of New Orleans.
He's from New Orleans.
Did you guys see the clip when he was on Jimmy Kimmel?
No.
I think so.
It was like a week and a half ago.
Right, yeah.
And Jimmy asked him, where are you from? And he said, I'm from Europe.
Oh.
So we're getting closer.
And James Franco was sitting there and he's like, wait, what?
You know what's fun too is to see him and James Franco react publicly together, because James Franco is like he doesn't know what Tommy's gonna say,
right?
And he has
I
this
feel like he's also like fangirling in the moment. Like James Franco always has this huge grin as he sits next to Tommy and interacts with him. It's really fun to watch.
It's so cute.
And he's like, but you could tell like he doesn't know what he's gonna say next, so he's like embracing whatever insanity is about to be said, and that he is an audience member like anybody else when Tommy's talking, and you get that from him. And you also get that James Franco. You get just like The Room was a passion project for Tommy Wiseau. The Disaster Artist was a passion project for James Franco and Seth Rogen and Dave Franco. Kind of getting together to work on it, because you just get the idea. I've listened to a lot of interviews. I think I'm more prepared to discuss this movie than I probably have for any movie ever. After seeing the original movie so many times and hearing so many interviews and reading the book or listening to the audiobook of the book, I don't know why I think it's easier to say reading. But you get the idea. James Franco said he's seen this movie over 50 times. And you get that he loves this movie. He loves it, and there's something to be said for that. Like, what is a bad movie, right? Like, what makes a movie bad? Because while we say we can all agree this movie is really bad, why? If it's so bad, why do we love it? Like, can we love right? Like, is it that bad? Like, is it the worst movie of all time or the greatest bad movie of all time? Because it might not be a bad movie at all if we love it so much. Like, what makes a bad movie a bad movie? Just follows this archetype that says that this is what makes a bad movie, right? Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm getting a little philosophical about it, but
I think it's a good question.
It did make me question what makes a bad movie a bad movie, right? Yeah. So I don't know, because I again probably might by the end of my life see this movie more than the other movie in my life, because I plan on going to every midnight screening from now on.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So anyway, so let's I guess while we discuss the movie, we'll kind of talk about the book as well. We'll kind of compare some of the story and kind of for listeners to give some background as far as it goes. The Room was made. Well, Tommy and Greg Sestero, who plays Mark, they met in an acting class in 1998, and Greg Sestero was drawn to him because he was fearless, and he Greg Sestero was so nervous all the time. He cared what people thought, and he sees this guy Tommy that clearly doesn't care what anybody thinks. And then the movie took off from there. Obviously, it took years and years for that to happen, but after so much rejection, Tommy Wiseau was finally like, "Hey, I'm going to make this with a bucket load of money that we have no idea why." The book kind of explores where his past might be, and it also explores where his money might have come from, some of it. I get the impression that this car accident that he was in, he could have gotten a settlement from that.
Yeah, I assume that too.
But we don't know exactly where he got all the money, because he has a lot of it, millions of it. He has at least $6 million, or had at least $6 million. But, also that he spent so much almost to feed his ego rather than to make the movie the way it's supposed to be made. And then he cheaped out on things that were important, like air conditioning and water and, things like that, and the right amount of staff. Which, again, reminds me of the way the country is being run, because there's still plenty ambassadorships and government positions that still have not been filled.
Right.
And there's plenty of important positions that they were like, you're having 3 people do one job. Why don't you do that instead of having an HD and a 35mm camera filming this?
Because it's a real Hollywood movie.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. Sorry.
Yeah, big.
So
well, but you know what, though? I've seen that with rich people, though. Like, sometimes they'll just spend so much money on something hideous, and like, why would you buy this? And then they're super cheap on something like tipping at a restaurant,
Right.
Yeah.
Like, it's really weird when people have a lot of money, the things that they choose to focus their attention on and things that they don't.
Yeah, they don't get rich by giving their money away.
Right.
So
that's what they say, and then they go and give their money away.
Right.
On weird stuff that like serves them, you know, like it's weird in their mind of like the priorities.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so why don't we go over our basic review of The Disaster Artist, which is just like The Room. I think it's a difficult movie for me to review. It's kind of hard to just review it because it's, I don't know, it's another side of this movie that I find so hard to review itself. But the plot summary for the film, for those you do not know, it is when Greg Sestero, an aspiring film actor, meets the weird and mysterious Tommy Wiseau in an acting class. They form a unique friendship and travel to Hollywood to make their dreams come true. We're going to give our non-spoiler review for the movie, which I think we'll kind of keep short and switch to spoilers as soon as we can. But I mean, it's hard to know what's spoiler and what's not for this movie in general.
Yeah.
But it's we're not going to talk about anything that's really not in the trailer. We're going to give our basic our review, and then we're going to switch to the spoiler section and kind of speak more freely about how it goes. And I'm sure we'll have still plenty more to say about The Room as we go along. But Karen, why don't you start off with your non-spoiler review of film The Disaster Artist?
Okay. Well, I actually got to see it a couple weeks ago at the AFI Film Festival, and James Franco came in and introduced it. And so
and
that
introduced
was a
you?
really he didn't introduce me.
Ladies
so
and
jealous
gentlemen,
right now.
He introduced the film
Karen
like,
Peterson
to the audience. It was amazing. But it was such a cool way to go into this film and watching it and listening to him talk about how he got involved in it and how passionate he was. And so that really, for me, that really came across as I was watching the film. You could really see, we talk about Tommy's commitment making The Room, but I could see that throughout watching James Franco just embrace this weird guy. And I think that what makes The Disaster Artist work so well is the fact that Franco he gives everything he has into this performance, and he manages to, he never explains Tommy, and he never really even tries to explain Tommy, but he shows you a side of him that you don't get to see other places. You know, like there are moments that are really emotionally charged, and it's not just hilarious from start to finish. There's a lot of emotional heft to it. And so I loved that. And I thought both of the Franco brothers were fantastic. I've never seen Dave Franco put on a performance where I was just like, wow, he actually can act. He's always just kind of, he's been funny and stuff like that, but I've never seen him in this way where it's just like, wow, this guy, there's something here. And then all the background performers, tons of cameos and supporting roles that were just so perfect and just delightful to watch. So.
Do you know what actually role this reminds me of the most from James Franco?
Hmm.
You want to take a guess at what movie he was just this out there in and different?
From James Franco?
Yes.
Pineapple Express?
No.
I don't
Spring
know.
Breakers?
Spring Breakers.
Oh, okay.
His portrayal reminds me similarly, not that he's played this character in Spring Breakers, but that he's unrecognizable as James
The
Franco.
transformation.
Right. Like,
Yeah.
you don't see James Franco at all. And actually, while I was watching this movie, and after I had to try to remember what Tommy Wiseau looked like.
Mm.
I think that they do a really good job of him, and there's sometimes, especially when he has his glasses on, he looks so much like Tommy Wiseau. But his eyes, they do not nail it with his eyes. His eyes look way different than Tommy Wiseau's eyes, and that's always been a problem. As far as
the contacts are weird.
Yeah, the contacts, something's off with him. But when he wears his glasses, my God, does he really feel like Tommy Wiseau? That being said, and sorry to interrupt, I'll let you get right back to it. Let's talk about a huge elephant in the room with Dave Franco and his fake beard.
Oh my God. I hate that thing.
It's pretty bad, and it made me think it made me think maybe Dave Franco wasn't right for the role just because he can't grow a freaking beard.
I disagree with that. I mean, the beard was problematic, but I think he did a really great job.
I think he did a good job, but I never once saw Greg Sestero from him also.
Really?
Yeah.
Right.
Dylan, do you remember my comment?
Which one? Oh, yeah. That
during the movie,
he's not good looking enough to be Greg Sestero?
He's not as good looking as Greg Sestero. So when they were like, oh, you have all that money from your modeling work, I was like, really, Dave? Really?
I bet Dave Franco could be a model, but but yeah, I saw Tommy Wiseau from James Franco, and I just saw Dave Franco doing a great job as playing the role that he was playing, but never once saw Greg Sestero from him, especially not when he was wearing that fake beard. Like, that fake beard was... I don't know why they couldn't have just... Couldn't they do better than that? I don't know. I'm not a fake beard expert, but...
Well, and that's not his fault, the fake beard. That's
no,
makeup
it's
people.
Not.
But I don't know. Like, watching the two of them in the scenes where they're really going at it, and we'll talk more specifically later, but it was really... I don't know. For me, it really pulled me in, and I was very surprised by the performances from both of them, honestly. Even though I've known James Franco is a good actor for a long time, he just usually doesn't take the opportunity to show how good he really is. So, But it was definitely something new from Dave. But overall, I really liked it. I thought Alison Brie was a little bit like, I didn't love her, but and at first I thought, well, maybe I just don't love the character, but I wasn't sold on her in the movie. Probably she got that part because of her connection to Franco, but that probably helped. But
I think for people, especially people like us that have read the book, I just feel like there could have been more important things to allocate the time that they spent with her.
Yeah.
Because she in the book was never a foreground character. She was always talked about in the background.
Yeah.
Like, he was like, and at this point, my girlfriend was getting mad because of this. She was never a part of the direct story.
The only time in the book that she's ever there is when he's trying to decide if he's going to take the part of Mark, and she's like, "Why are you still standing here? Go tell him yes."
Right.
That's the only thing. But other than that, yeah, she was very, very ancillary, and so to have her have like such a bigger role in this, it was just like, it just felt really out of place.
I wish she played Michelle instead of June. June, I don't remember her last name from How Did This
Diane Raphael.
Yeah.
Yes. I wish she played Michelle. Alison Brie played that character, but
yeah. Well, and I remember in one of the trailers, he's talking about the plot, the voiceover, and then I met this girl, anything for my princess, and they show Alison Brie,
right?
And so I wonder if, as an afterthought, they were like, to get people in, we kind of do need some sort of romantic element. Now, as people who are obviously obsessed with just the room and the story behind it, I did not need a romantic element in this movie. I was more concerned with
it added the jealousy factor.
Right.
But I just think that could have been done with a different allocation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I get how in real Hollywood movie, pretty much every movie, they do have some sort of romantic element in it. So it may have been just like, we got to put it in there.
I think the love story is enough of the love of the dream and the love of seeking friendship that Tommy Wiseau is going for. But I understand
that would have been enough for me.
Yeah, but they wanted it to be a real Hollywood movie.
Exactly.
Continue, Karen. Sorry for interrupting.
Oh no, that's okay. But even that part with Alison Brie wasn't enough for me to knock down my grade. And given the elements that come in during the credits, that was so perfect. I loved it, and that like kind of sealed the deal on this movie for me. I loved it. I've seen it twice now. I'm gonna see it again.
I'm gonna go see it again,
and I give it an A+. It's currently my favorite movie of the year.
So. Boom!
Nice. Whoa.
Okay, so a couple things. One, you want to know why I think they did those scenes at the end of the movie? Was just to give the audience that hasn't seen The Room be like, guys, this isn't a caricature. This is real.
This is for real.
This is really the way.
Yeah.
Like, I think that really important was to show Nathan Fielder, by the way, while he doesn't look like the guy on top that plays the psychologist.
Mm-hmm.
He does a hell of a job of capturing him in every other way, shape, or form.
He was great. That was great casting.
And to see the scene where he falls down. And to recapture it in that, they even capture the mise-en-scène of Tommy Wiseau. Like they capture everything perfectly, and they wanted to show that off. Like they capture everything completely. So I think that's really funny. I have questions for you, Karen, because you are our awards expert. You are you write for wordcircuit.com, and you're on their podcast also every week.
Mm-hmm.
So you're our Oscar expert.
Okay.
You're a betting person.
I'll take that.
And you have to put a bet on what is the most likely nomination for this movie. I'm going to take a stab at it, and I'd say adapted screenplay?
Yes.
What about makeup?
There's only the problem with makeup is there are only 3 nominees in that category. And
why did they do that?
So I don't see it getting in. We don't know.
Not
Every
with
year
that
we're like,
beard.
they need to change this. So, but yeah, I don't see it getting in for makeup. No.
James Franco, no.
He's very much in the conversation, and he's actually doing really well with precursors. So I think it's likely that he gets in.
You want to explain to
not necessarily to win.
Our audience what a precursor is? Obviously, the audience needs help with this, not me. It's the audience.
Gina needs help too. I don't know what that is.
Okay, so the precursors are basically all of the different awards from critics groups, from different associations leading up to the Academy Awards. And so far, up to now, we've had Broadcast Film Critics Association. They announced their nominations. They're announcing the winners in January. Franco was nominated, adapted screenplay. Actually, Franco is a double nominee because he was nominated for Best Actor and Best Actor in a Comedy, and the movie was nominated for Best Comedy. It's nominated. He was nominated for Male Lead for the Independent Spirit Award, which those are announced the day before the Oscars. He won the Gotham Award. They won screenplay for Hollywood.
Would you say he's right
very
now
much
in the top 5?
Yes.
Right now he's in the top 5 for Best Actor?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That would be so insane if he won Best Actor.
Well, to be nominated.
Like, I mean, in a good way. Like, can you imagine, like, everything that Tommy Wiseau's been through?
Exactly.
And he actually gets vindicated by James.
Hello? Did I lose you guys? Uh-oh, can't hear anybody. Hello? Uh-oh.
We'll see. A lot of people think that it's...
That just...
nope.
That just cut out.
Oh, no.
I can hear you guys again.
Okay.
I cut out for a little bit right there. The last that at least the recording heard was you just saying, could you imagine if after everything Tommy Wiseau's been through, that he was vindicated with a nomination for this?
Oh yeah, Gina.
Gina, you still there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm here.
What was your well? I guess I'll just say.
Oh.
I it's just insane. You know what it reminds me of would be Johnny Depp's nomination for Pirates of the Caribbean. Like, it's so not normal Oscar bait, at least for regular people wouldn't think this was, but this has been in the Oscar conversation as long as at least for the past couple months.
I would say it's maybe more in line with Robert Downey Jr. getting nominated for Tropic Thunder.
Right.
There you go.
So what is happening?
Or from the Bridesmaids nomination of Melissa McCarthy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's funny is the dream will completely come true that he's gotten to the Oscars, and I could see Tommy Wiseau at the Oscars.
Exactly.
Oh, James Franco better take him as his date.
He has to.
Like, that'd be so amazing.
I can't imagine that he wouldn't. I mean,
He'd have
Tommy,
to.
If Disaster Artist gets in and they get invited, Tommy will be there for sure.
Oh my God. Didn't even think about that. Like, that is... Wow.
Because this movie wouldn't exist without Tommy Wiseau. There's no way they're going to ignore that.
Right.
So.
And he's a guy that, I think a lot of people can relate with somebody that just had a dream and carried it out, and he executed it. And he didn't get his dream the way he wanted to, but it doesn't matter because he got to, here he is 14 years later, potentially
probably
very
going
likely
to the
going to the Oscars.
Right.
Now,
well, and how often do things work out the way we want them to?
Every time.
Right.
Every time.
So, well, in your charmed life.
Yes. In my semi-charmed kind of life. Anyway, Gina, why don't you give your non-spoiler review of the film The Disaster?
Sure. So I'll keep mine short because I've actually never given a non-spoiler review, and I'm kind of unclear what would be a spoiler.
You've already kind of given
this.
too many spoilers, so careful. I'm just joking.
Okay. I'm so nervous. No, I will just say during the film, probably about halfway through, Dylan turned and made the comment my cheeks hurt because I've just been grinning the whole time. Right. And I realized I had a perma smile on the entire movie. So I will definitely speak for people that are familiar with The Room, enjoy The Room, get The Room, that this movie is fantastic and just super enjoyable. Lots of really funny moments, but also a lot of heartfelt, emotional moments, and really a celebration of why we love The Room in the first place. So I really, really enjoyed it. Not only was the acting great from the principal characters, but the cameos are awesome. If you're a fan of comedy, especially a kind of more current, alt comedy right now, there's great cameos that I had no idea were in it. We already said Nathan Fielder shows up, and I won't spoil the cameos, but I recognized a lot of really great people who are maybe in it for a short time, but just get a laugh. And I found it really enjoyable. So I would give it an A+. And I'm really curious to know, maybe this is a good time to ask, what are your opinions on someone seeing it who is not familiar with The Room? Because I can't take my experience, because I'm so deeply entrenched in that film, out of it and really identify with someone who's being exposed to this for the first time. Do you have any advice or any opinions on how someone would respond to the movie in that case? I'm really curious about that.
Because you might actually have heard from somebody already that hasn't seen The Room that's seen it.
Yeah, I haven't yet. So
yeah, a couple of people, and they enjoyed it because they were able to go into it watching it just as this interesting movie, and the scenes at the end of the credits definitely helped them understand and contextualize it. But I do think that just from talking to them, they didn't have the same connection. So they're just going into it watching this is an interesting movie. James Franco's really good, but this is weird. And how is this real life,
Yeah.
So I think that people who want to see The Disaster Artist, if they have the opportunity, should try to see The Room first if they haven't seen it already. But I don't think that it's going to not translate for them. They just won't have that deep connection.
I think it was purposefully designed to be able to see, especially because The Room, even though we've accessed it a lot, it's not the most accessible movie.
Right.
You can't get it.
It's like really not accessible. I tried last night. It's really not. You have to buy the DVD on Amazon.
Yeah.
I think.
Or on Wazo's website directly.
Right, directly.
I'm curious, but I did see a review for. I listened to a YouTube review for the YouTube channel What the Flick of a couple really great critics, and one of them had never seen it, and they gave it the highest grade of the three. The three people that reviewed it, the two other people had seen it. They didn't give it low scores, but he just gave it a higher one. He really liked the movie, and having not seen it, and had questions about the movie during the review for it, and he's like, can't wait to see it. And they had that conversation of how he should see it, if he should go see it in a midnight screening. And one of them was like, yeah, well, you won't be able to listen to some of the plot if you go see it at the midnight screening. And he's like, oh, this plot that's so important. Just like I had said, and he was like, oh, fair enough. Like he responded himself, hadn't seen it yet, and was like, I don't think that the plot is necessarily the important part of the movie, because the plot is really hard to follow when you really say it out loud from start to finish.
It's true.
But anyway, so all right, so again, it's hard for me to grade this. It's hard to give the movie a grade in general. And I almost want to not give it a grade. But I'll say this. I do wish... I know that this happens all the time. I do wish that while I'm glad that I listened to the book, and Greg Sestero does a phenomenal Tommy Wiseau. He does.
It's amazing.
I almost am like, oh, man, I wonder if they could have made it with him playing Tommy Wiseau.
His like the audio of him doing Wiseau is better than James Franco's version.
Oh yeah.
Greg Sestero's is amazing.
Visually,
you have to listen to the audiobook.
Visually, James Franco nails it, and he does it audibly pretty well a lot of times. But
he does a great job.
But but Greg Sestero has it perfect.
Well, Greg Sestero also lived with him. So.
I know.
And talks to him every day.
Right.
So perhaps if James Franco was committed to the project, he would have moved in with him for a couple of years. I'm just saying.
That's a reality show that I would watch.
So,
for sure.
When I walked out, I kept questioning why they showed some things and not other things, and I'm going to talk about that a lot in spoilers. So I wish that I didn't have that in my mind, right? Like I wasn't comparing it to a book, because there's some things that I really don't understand why they left out, or why they showed some of them, or combined certain things. Like, for instance, I talked about this after we left the movie. I really wish they fleshed out Juliet, who played Lisa, better, like they did in the book. In the book, they made her seem like the sweetest person in the world, and it made me regret thinking poorly about her when I watched The Room. As a character. Or just exactly, because you feel like she's like that in real life, and he described it, saying she couldn't be less like her character at all. And they showed they combined several different things that happened to her on set into one scene, and I felt like those needed more time to breathe, and I thought that was more important for that and that kind of stuff. That I kind of wanted, but I understand that it's a movie and it's not gonna have everything, so I'm not at all dinging it for that. It's just that that there's some things I wish that they reallocated differently. I feel like they changed Tommy and made him a lot more likable. They almost made him out in some points to seem like a creep in the book, and I don't think that we got that really very much in the movie at all. Would you guys agree or disagree with that?
You don't think his bare ass showing in close up didn't make him out to be a creep?
It's weird, but they
no, I do agree with you.
The book made it seem like he was drawing out the lovemaking scenes because he was trying to take advantage of a girl in a way. Almost not without calling him a...
Well, he never really got into why he was doing it. He just was talking about the fact that it was really strange how he just it took 3 days to film this. Right. It was and kept. Well, but I agree with you. I think they did soften Tommy up a lot from how he is presented in the book, but seeing him on all these talk shows and things now, I think that the movie hits closer to
what he really is.
How he is now. I think that in the years since The Room, he's softened a lot. I think he's kind of in a weird way grown as a person, and I think that the movie captures more of who he is than who he was.
I think he was also at the time was dealing with insecurity over perhaps being bullied or not being believed in for a long time and all that kind of stuff, and that he was trying to overcome that and overcompensating for it during him making The Room.
Absolutely.
Which was better for the art, if you ask me. Better for the art. I thought
worse for the cast.
I thought Dave Franco was again, I think he was a great actor and great for the character he played. I just, again, never saw Greg Sestero from him. I'm not dinging it for that at all. But I don't know. I just think that perhaps he wasn't the best to play Greg Sestero. And it's not his ability to perform or anything like that. He just doesn't look at all like him and doesn't sound at all like him, and he can't grow a beard and things like that. I just think made it a little sillier than it necessarily could have been. But the movie also wanted to maintain a lighthearted weight, so that's not the end of the world. There was a really great line from the lady who plays Lisa's mom when she's on set, and they're kind of complaining. A bunch of people are complaining. And the book explained about her as she had been an actress when she was younger. Then she had kids, and now that all her kids had grown out and her oldest was already in college, she decided to start responding to casting calls again. And this is one of her first roles afterward, and that she was a really nice lady. And when a bunch of people were complaining at lunch or something like that about this stupid movie and being on the set and why is she doing this? Why are you doing this? And she responded saying, even the worst day on a movie set is better than the best day in another job. And I think that was a huge part of the movie, is just the love for creating film or creating art in any way that you can. It's different than any other job, that you can imagine. And it reminded me of Ed Wood in a lot of in that way. And I think that's a movie that's this movie's compared to a lot. I also don't think they captured in the movie how as much as they could have how worn out they got trying to help him. I feel like they shortened that into showing them trying to help him in one or two scenes and then finally giving up. And I felt like they tried more in real life to try to give him another side of things and be like, hey, you should try to do this. But they tried once or twice, and then they were like, hey, why argue with him? It's just going to take longer on this. For instance, they also missed out on an opportunity to have everybody show what the process they were going through when they realized that Tommy couldn't do his lines in the opening scene that was in the trailer, which is him coming out and trying to say, I did not hit her. It's not true. It's bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark. That scene. I wanted more of a moment of them kind of looking at each other and being like, he can't do this. He's not able. He can't be on. He can't act. He can't remember these simple lines.
I don't know. I liked the way it played out. And when you get to the point, and this is in the trailer, so it's not a spoiler, but when you get to the point where everyone on the set is reciting the line, and he still can't do it.
Yeah.
I feel like they wanted to make that scene funny. I feel like they didn't want the movie to feel as excruciating as the actual shot. So I understand that, right?
Yeah. Because it was funny.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, I think that I think we went from, hey, starting this, hey, this sounds good, okay, we're gonna do like this, and then out of nowhere they're all like, we hate this, and I just kind of wanted a moment of them all showing them really realizing the shit that they're in, because I kept thinking at the beginning, I kept even saying they have no idea what they're in for, and then they're in it, and I kind of wanted to see them realizing it, or them being like, what is happening? Is he literally can't say it. It was all cut very quickly, the same way it was done in the trailer. And I guess I'm not dinging it. I'm just saying little things, right? I don't know. I'm just trying to.
I think. Go ahead. I was just gonna say, I think that might be related to the fact that we read the book, because in the book they make it abundantly clear how much pushback Tommy Wiseau got from the crew.
Right.
and people were fired and left the project because they were so fed up with what was going on. So the tone of the set, it's made very clear in the book how bad the tone was and how frustrated people were, and that there was real true conflict amongst people.
And they also didn't
him.
know how how bad he was at acting until that opening scene. And I don't know if the movie captured that the way I wanted it to, but that's just
I don't think that was their goal. I think
their
goal was to make a funny movie, so they didn't really
wanted to make
explore
that scene funny, as opposed to I don't know. My idea probably would have been less funny, but would have grounded it more in reality, I think.
Yeah, I definitely see what you're both saying. I think that part of it is they wanted to make it funny, and part of it was that they didn't want to dwell on anything in particular because the movie as a whole is the story.
It almost doesn't dwell on anything.
Right.
Well, they only had an hour and a half.
Intentional. Yeah.
I'm not saying
that was intentional.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying I completely agree with you. The movie didn't dwell on anything. And then there were some things that were dwelled on for a very long time in the book. They were explored for a long time, and they kind of wanted to rapid fire cover things like the bathroom thing, the private bathroom that he made. They just briefly mentioned it in the movie, almost to the point that why did they even say that at all? And it was a much bigger thing because they and I think that was some room for comedy because they could have covered that. Hey, he pooped in that toilet that just had a sheet, and everyone had to be close to that and smell it and hear it instead of using the private bathroom that was available. Why did he do this? Because it's like a real Hollywood movie.
Personally glad they didn't include a scene of they're using the bathroom, but
I don't know. I'm pro poop. I guess you're anti poop. I guess. Yeah, but again, I think that the point was they didn't want the movie to feel as excruciating as the filming of it was. Like also, when they wrapped filming, and this isn't a spoiler, they wrapped filming at some point. They didn't even make a point that they rapped. I expected like them rapping and the crew that were still there would be like, oh, finally we're done. Like this is over. It's behind our life. And one of them say this movie will never get seen. It doesn't matter. You know, there was only one little throwaway line where somebody's saying, oh, it doesn't matter. This movie's never going to get seen, kind of almost in the background. And I think that's important for people watching this being like, why is everybody doing this? Why did everybody do this movie? And a lot of them didn't think the movie would get seen. They were adding something to their portfolio. They had signed up. They were already getting paid. By the time they realized that it was as insane and stupid as it was, because they thought they were doing a legitimate movie at first, it was too late. And they were like, I'm just going to collect my paycheck and get the hell out of here and be done with it.
Right.
I'd really loved, it showed at the bottom of the screen, day 1 of 40, day 3 of 40, day 8 of 40, day 52 of 40.
Day 52
I
of 40.
loved that. I loved that they showed that it was going way over schedule and all that kind of stuff.
And see, and I feel like those were the little touches that really show you how ridiculous this was and what a draw it was for the,
So, like Gina said, my cheeks literally hurt from smiling during this movie. So I had a really good experience.
Smiled the whole time.
Now, his transition also of the way he deals with how people take the movie, they fast forward that, and I'm not complaining at all, because it kind of brought the whole thing together. It's like, yeah, you could make and this is something we discussed earlier. You could make a much better movie, but can you go out and make a movie that I can have this much fun watching? It's rare. It's rare to make a movie that I can have this much fun watching, and that's the point of the movie that they make. So for me, again, it's just hard to even find a barometer of where it is. I've thoroughly enjoyed the movie, just like I enjoyed The Room, and it's an interesting experience. I'm excited to see it again. As of right now, I'm at B+ territory, which is a really good grade. Just before I get attacked by Karen. But
why do you hate it, Dylan? Why do you hate
it? She always is pointing out that she'll give a movie a great grade, and she'll get attacked for hating it because it's not on her top 10 list. I got viciously attacked because I didn't have Mad Max Fury Road on my top 10 list, or I had it as number 10 on my top 10 list of 2015. And I was like, why are you treating Mad Max Fury Road like it's a religion? I don't understand.
Because for some people it is.
I don't understand Mad Max
To
Fury
them,
Road to
it's
people.
our
My
room.
God, like
Mhm.
anyway. But yeah, let's switch over to spoilers and kind of talk about things more freely. Why don't you tell people where they can follow you on the internet, Karen Peterson?
I am at Karen M. Peterson on Twitter and all season long at awardcircuit.com.
And Gina, where can you tell people where they can follow you on the internets or in real life?
I on the internet, so you can follow me at Gina Murtallo. That's GinaMirtallo at Twitter. And I'd prefer not to be followed around in real life.
And thedeucedrop.com.
Oh yeah, and thedeucedrop.com.
And if you watch the other James Franco project that has come out this year,
Yeah.
that's been amazing, which has been The Deuce.
Which is great.
Did you watch The Deuce, Karen?
I haven't had time.
It's good, Karen.
It's on my list, but there's like
Yeah.
You should put it to
I'm
the
at
top.
movie
You
It's a
should,
good
like,
binge.
twice a week.
put it to the top of your list. But anyway,
Okay, I will.
For me, you can follow me at Shucks. That's SHUCKSTR. You can follow the show at The Watch and Talk on Twitter and Instagram. Email us at thewatchtalk@gmail.com. Go to facebook.com/thewatchandtalk or thewatchandtalk.com. Next week, I don't think we've decided what we're going to review next week.
Is there anything coming out next week?
I think that let's check the schedule. I think some of the Oscar movies.
Are you guys gonna
have been in
do
conversation.
I, Tonya?
Yeah, maybe I, Tonya next week. I actually do really
That might
want to
be
do I,
good.
Tonya.
Yeah.
But I think
I want to see that too.
I think next week we'll do The Last Jedi.
Oh,
yeah.
All right.
Perhaps
I guess.
maybe we'll get around to doing a review of The Last Jedi. Of course, we're being sarcastic. We're going to do that, obviously. Karen is going to be on for that one too, as
Yes, I am.
one of the biggest Star Wars fans of all time.
Yes,
Of all time.
definitely.
And so yeah, look forward to that. It's going to be a very in-depth show, full panel on it. We're going to have a long episode discussing a lot of stuff. So check that out. Without further ado, let's switch over to spoilers. Okay, I'm just going to talk about some things that I think that should have been included, and I hate to be that. That's why I wished I hadn't read the book before watching it, but that's how things happened, and that I just have to live with it. The reason it was important that he was shooting it simultaneously on two different cameras was part of the reason was a conspiracy to replace Mark with the person that he had hired for Mark originally.
Right.
I wish they covered that.
I get why they didn't, because that seems like a long time to allocate toward it. But I just think they should have taken out the shooting it simultaneously, because that never, just like the breast cancer line, that never comes into play as the movie goes along. I guess it wanted to show his lavish spending, and that was a decision to do. But I think that I think if they spent 5 minutes smartly allocating the conspiracy of Mark not wanting to do it, and then him replacing another person, and them shooting in that guy realizing he's getting cut out of the movie, I think that would have been some pretty good, interesting drama from the movie, if you ask me.
I think so too. And it could have been done comedically. Like, that could have been funny.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. I think part of the reason, and okay, so I saw Disaster Artist before I listened to the book, and then I listened to the book and then saw the movie again. And which is a really interesting way to do it, because the second viewing I was like, but wait, what about this?
Right.
What about that? One of the reasons I think they did that with Greg is because they never really delved into the fact that he didn't want to play Mark, that he was really reluctant, and that he didn't think that the script was good. In Disaster Artist, Greg is just all like, yeah, let's do this. This is exciting.
Right.
And the whole point was, we're going to make this movie.
Right.
And it wasn't about him being reluctant to do any of it.
Right.
It was like a bro-com.
Yeah.
Like, that was... and
which makes Greg Sestero kind of look stupider than he makes himself look like when he wrote his own book.
Right.
But I feel like they did that because they knew a lot of people seeing this movie will not have seen The Room.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it was kind of advertised as a bro comedy in the trailers. And, I can kind of see that angle for the average movie watcher to go see it and get those kind of warm, fuzzy feelings in the end. Because I think in the end, it does kind of focus on their friendship, and we're happy that they've come back together and are on good terms.
Right.
I wish...
So, I get why they did it, but I think from our perspective, that was not the most important part for me, was, their fuzzy, warm friendship.
Here's what I think is important that they should have done. And, again, maybe add in an extra 2 or 3 minutes, or maybe reallocate 2 or 3 extra minutes. But the Juliet, who plays Lisa, they combine two pivotal, very important scenes in the book, or in the story, and they combined them into one. They showed a sex scene that was on an open set that should have been on a closed set that was done on a closed set. They should have spent the time to explain, hey, this is embarrassing for somebody to have this in an open set. They should have less cast members on there. They shouldn't have so many crew members watching her get naked during the movie and show her uncomfortability from it. But I guess they didn't want to show him being a creep because she kept saying, I'm a professional.
Mm-hmm.
And that they'd show him pointing out one of her blemishes in a separate scene.
Yeah.
And I wish they showed her face close up when he's saying that and seeing her horror of being called out on that publicly and then her start crying, which for me was a huge game changer for the way I viewed her as a character in general. And that she toughed through all that and that she kept going through it. It's because she wanted to be an actress and she wasn't originally cast as Lisa. She was, somebody else was, and that person didn't last. She was like, I'd like to, and was being a trooper. I think that would have been really important in making her, because they really didn't flesh out any of the actors of the movie except for Tommy and Greg. And I felt like they could have made those actors characters in the movie, which they didn't seem to do. If that makes sense. And I think that Lisa would have been a really good character to flesh out and tell her side of or tell a little side of her to make people realize she wasn't the Lisa that we all thought she was. That makes sense?
It does make sense, yeah. And I think, you make a really good point, actually. The fact that poor Juliet has been so vilified because Lisa is such a horrible person in the room.
But she just wants to live.
But she's so manipulative.
What does Michelle say to her? She says, "Wow, Lisa, you are."
Wow, Lisa, you're being so manipulative.
But what did she say before that?
She says it like 5
What
times.
did she say before that? She says, "Well, whatever, never mind." But yeah, I just think that I think that was interesting drama / comedy they could have done to flesh it out. But they really seem to be focused on not making him, to try to make Tommy Wiseau to be a sympathetic character. But I just don't think anybody got to that screening and seeing the tear come of his eyes and felt sympathy for him, because we hated him anyway once he said no to Greg for no reason over his jealousy about his girlfriend to the Malcolm in the Middle part.
Yeah.
But nobody liked him after that anyway. Everyone was like, dude, this guy's a psycho and he's a dickhead.
But you know what? I think in the book, by the end of the book, I went through a lot of opinions of Tommy throughout the book, definitely really not liking him in parts of the book. But when when Greg told the backstory and you feel some more sympathy for him, by the end of the book, I did feel more sympathy for Tommy and didn't hate his guts. And so I think they wanted us in this movie to have some sympathy for him and not hate his guts. And that's hard to do in the time that they had. So they probably had to be really cautious about how much of an asshole do we want to make him into, so that we can, within this movie, get you back on track to at least sympathize with him a bit.
Well, and for the time that they had, I agree with that. But for the time that they had, they needed to show Tommy as someone that Greg Sestero is still friends with to this day. They talk every single day. If he was this horrible of a person, why is he still talking to him? And they didn't have time to address all of that. So I think the easiest solution was to soften Tommy up a little bit in the Disaster Artist.
But I also think that he wasn't necessarily a bad person. Some of my favorite athletes of all time have been seemingly people I wouldn't want to hang out with at all. They seem like terrible people. But you kind of have to be like that sometimes to be great at something. And
you kind of have to be an asshole.
Yeah. But I don't think that he was necessarily even an asshole. I think that he was just completely socially inept. That's what made him special, right? That he wasn't able to read the room. And
I see what you did there.
but the thing was to have Paul Scheer try to fight him when he embarrassed Juliet. Well, I think that was important, and I'm glad they included that. I felt like things were getting sped along so much. I really wish that those were two separate scenes, even if they spent the same amount of time but separated those scenes into two. I just think that would have been a little more important at showing her, a tender side of her and fleshing her more out as a character. Also, the guy who they got to play the Stifler character that we can never remember his name. Not good. Gina and I
the guy who likes chocolate.
When we MeUndies. When we came out of theater, we looked at each other because in the screenings, everyone yells out Stifler when he shows up. So I was thinking how funny it would have been if they got Sean William Scott to play him.
Yeah, that would have been I
think
said
Sean
there
William
was probably a
Scott's probably
scheduling conflict.
It's scheduling conflict. Yeah, I think Sean William Scott's probably just too old to play somebody that was probably his age when that movie came out. But
didn't stop Denny.
Yeah, that was perfect too because he looks young still. Josh Hutcherson still looks young and probably deals with that himself.
He did a great job.
He was, oh my gosh.
He did a great
job.
That
wig was like the best thing ever. It was so hilarious.
Let me know when we're ready to move on to like the great performances that happen because I'm ready for that.
The scene when he bites the apple too.
Oh, it's perfect.
It was just recaptured so perfectly.
A vigorous bite.
So, but yeah, and again, Nathan Fielder was perfect.
Yeah,
I loved it.
Yes,
he was so good at that.
Great casting.
But yeah, it's you know what scene they captured perfectly from the book was Seth Rogen's character going and cashing the check.
Yes.
Yeah.
They almost got that like line for line, and his reaction. It just felt like when I was watching that scene, I was like, I've already seen this, even though I had never seen it, because he just also the whole time I was picturing that character as Seth Rogen, knowing damn well that Seth Rogen was that guy's character. I didn't hear before like Seth Rogen's playing this guy, but once I started reading the book and I was like from the trailer that had already come out, or the teaser, I was like, this has to be Seth Rogen right here. Like, it has to be.
Yeah.
And sure enough, it was. I think I think talk about changes from the book. I think it's fine that they took away him getting fired or him leaving the set and getting replaced.
Well,
totally okay with that.
They didn't. It happened. It just they glossed over it, but. Yeah, I think it was appropriate the way they did it.
Yeah, I think that was fine. See, I'm not sitting here being like everything from the book needs to be included or anything like that. Like I said, also, I wish that they had a feeling of relief when the movie was being shot for 45 seconds of showing everybody like, thank God, this is done with. Now we can go back to our lives and have some character say to another one, yep, we can go back to our normal lives and never think about this movie again.
When in actuality it will follow them forever.
That would have been I mean, maybe that would have been a little cliche. Good. Maybe that would have been a little cliche, but I think that would have been
a little on the nose.
I feel like that's the feeling we got when we read the book was that it was done, it's over, it's behind us. Well, now we go back to our normal lives and now they're like none of them ever was able to be known for anything. Imagine if one of the actors from here was like a big TV star now.
Mm-hmm.
Like
impossible.
It's pretty much impossible.
Couldn't happen in reality.
But I liked to go back to what I was saying about Juliet too. They showed that she was, going through her own thing too. When she was like, I'd like to try out. Like I think she was a crew member, right? She was a makeup person or something, and she was like, I'd like to try out. Like she was trying to break out of her own shell. And trying to do something. And again, I think that was really a good part of the story that I think that could have been included in only a couple short minutes. But I don't know where we cut it away from because I don't think this movie went too long. When we were talking about, when I was doing the review of Justice League, Karen, you did Justice League with us, right?
No, you didn't. I think I did. No, I wasn't on that.
But we were discussing how I was like, I don't want another minute more than this movie. I'm just saying things that I would have reallocated because I was so pleased that movie was only 2 hours. I was like, it helped the grade that it wasn't 2 hours and 45 freaking minutes like Batman vs. Superman or whatever. Oof. Or Transformers movies decide that they can be almost 3 hour movies. Forget them.
Yeah, no.
Anyway, what were you saying, Gina, about there's some of the performances you wanted to talk about?
Oh yeah, like there were a lot of things that I really enjoyed about this movie, and so I would love to just talk about like performances and cameos that came on that gave me great joy. Zac Efron wins.
Oh yeah,
Yes,
we forgot.
for
was
sure.
incredible. And again, with the background book knowledge of
Yep.
that
Yep.
actual actor,
Right.
wasn't really an actor. It was like a guy they knew
Right.
that they got to come in, who stayed in character and terrified everyone on set, and then completely delivered in the scene that they originally shot. Then weeks
Thinking
later,
about
they
that
decided
scene.
they need to reshoot it.
On the
And
roof.
we're like,
They
well, we're never going to get that guy back in here. Sure enough, he came right in and filmed it again amazingly, and that's the one that ends up in the movie.
Yeah, it's funny that they showed the scene being shot in the alleyway.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they, for the disaster artist, just show it be shot on the roof if they were going to cut out the reshooting part of it? Because
I don't know, but I don't mind because the performance was just incredible. And
Yeah.
Zac Efron's not really an actor that I don't watch a lot of his work. But I know of him, and he's a hunk
it
and
was so
whatnot,
good.
and so it was really kind of fun and surprising,
honestly,
to see him act in that way.
that's one of the best parts
and
of the movie.
he just totally nailed
One
it.
of the best parts.
He was so
parts of the
great.
movie. And him,
He was great.
him just going, him sitting there before they start filming, and he's sitting there just getting all amped up, and he's just like, "Fuck you, fuck you," getting all amped up. The theater,
And the reaction.
the theater was
from everyone
dying.
else.
The theater was freaking
Yeah, it was
dying,
hilarious.
and that like people were like afraid on the set. And again, they captured that perfectly from the book.
Yeah.
Like that's really, and
Yep.
because Greg Sestero even says that he's probably the best actor of the entire
Yeah,
movie.
he gives the
In the
best
whole film.
performance
Was
in the
Chris
whole movie.
R,
yeah.
which is so funny. His name's Chris R. In the credits, it says Chris R, but it doesn't say Chris space R. It's Chris dash R.
Right.
The R is a part of his first name.
Yeah.
Just wanted to point that out. But
Exactly.
But it's
so
just
funny
it's
and so random.
hilarious. And the Zac Efron sitting there just pumping himself up from it, and it was pretty funny that he called and said, "We want to reshoot. We do it on the roof this time." And he's like, "All right." We called him, and he's like, "Hey, I'm grocery shopping with my girlfriend right now." And he's like, "Hey, could you come to the set like right now?" And he's like, "No, I'm busy right now." And then Tom was like, "Yeah, he's not a professional. Like, and that's like that's unprofessional of you to call him and expect
Right.
him to come
Yeah.
right now."
And demand that he comes
Which
in.
is a very Trumpian thing, right? That I mentioned earlier. And then he
also
says, "Fuck, I'll
wasn't a
come."
professional actor to begin
Right.
with.
Right.
It's not his job.
Right. And then he was like, "All right, fine, I'll come in," and he did it, and he went and reshot it. And if you like, I heard before that Zac Efron plays Chris R, and didn't think that was the best idea ever in the world. And I don't not like Zac Efron either. I really liked We Are Your Friends, which is a movie that was universally panned everywhere that I absolutely loved, and I actually interviewed Max Joseph, the director, because I was the only person on the internet that liked that movie. But that movie made my top 10 list of 2015 over Mad Max Fury Road, and you can see why I got flamed on Twitter. Yeah, it's but I still just would be like, no, he's not good for Chris R at all. Like, you're joking. And then I would not have it any other way.
He nailed it.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
He was freaking hilarious.
And yeah, just some of the other cameos.
Melanie
Sharon Stone
Griffith and
reveal
Sharon
was
Stone.
really good.
Yeah.
That was
Like, I
great.
feel like a lot of the comedy movies, especially kind of like Judd Apatow related, there's always a kind of a long back establishing shot of someone, and it's going to be someone and then they show who it is, and it's really satisfying. And she did a great job.
I love Judd Apatow
the
being like,
actor-
thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a great cameo.
He got
the
through
guy
two
who-
acts of Shakespeare.
And then
The
Gina's
guy who played
Gina's next to me going, she's like, it's not the restaurant's fault that he got through that. They couldn't have expected that.
Yeah, why is
Exactly.
he blaming the restaurant? And just a couple other cameos. The guy who plays the agent's secretary is an actor named John Early, who's just hysterically funny and plays that assistant role, kind of the sassy assistant, so well.
Melanie Griffith.
Jason Mantzoukas and Hannibal Buress as the guys who rent the equipment out was a super fun surprise. So there's just a lot of nods to like really great comedians that ended up in this movie that I didn't do a lot of research on, so I didn't see coming.
Also,
And so I appreciate that.
The
when cameos are well done, as opposed to like a Zoolander 2,
yes,
where it's just an insane barrage of cameos that don't really mean anything.
Also,
I thought it was really
Odenkirk
well done.
And I keep not getting responded to Melanie Griffith. Melanie Griffith, who we have not seen in a long, long time. They're playing these people that are running Hollywood. They're experts in their field and doing it so long, and they're definitely they're not young. And to pick people that are such classic actors in Hollywood or actresses like Melanie Griffith and Sharon Stone, they were perfect to play that because that's believable, because we as viewers believe that Melanie Griffith is an expert at this, right? She's perfect for that role.
Exactly.
And same with Sharon Stone. She'd be perfect. She's just perfect as this person that has Hollywood, knows Hollywood inside and out.
Another moment that I just want to say that I really loved was at the end when they're watching the film. It's the big premiere, and Josh Hutcherson's there, and he's like all excited, and then he like kind of has that look like maybe I shouldn't be this excited about it. It's just such a funny little moment. It was adorable.
What did we think about the fact that he, like the way they handled that final scene of everyone laughing and then him going through being upset to embracing it. I don't think that was supposed to be taken literally, because that's not how it happened literally, obviously. And
no, it's about 5 years rolled into one.
5 to 10 years, perhaps even. But it is, I appreciate it. Like at first, I was like, "This is cheesy," and then I started thinking of it like a dream sequence and being like, "This
how
is
else were they going to do it?"
Exactly.
They had to do it that way.
And then by the end of it, I was like, "This is the perfect way to show." To streamline the story rather than skipping that's not good storytelling by 10 years later, hey, now I accept it. So I appreciated it, and then felt I don't want to say emotional at the end, but then showing the screenings of everybody and saying it cost $6 million, but it finally made its money back. It shows this, plays at midnight screenings all over the place. Yada yada yada. I was like, this is giving a tribute to this bonkers movie that I just think came out so. I just think that sequence was perfectly played out, and then it was obviously after all that to get the barrage of side by sides at the end. But like I said to Gina when I came out, I found myself drawn. I should have been watching the right side, which showed the reshots. I just love the room so much that I just was drawn to the left side because
absolutely.
I just found myself drawn to the left side. There's also a YouTube clip of maybe 15 minutes or 10 minutes of reshots also that I recommend people check out too. If you just search for The Disaster Artist, it's in the top 10 of things. Reshots.
We also have to recognize the best cameo in the movie at the very end of the credits.
Stay through the credits. We probably should have said that in the non-spoiler part, but stay through the credits. The lovely bartender at the AMC Mission Valley, as I bought my wine, was telling me, like, make sure you stay till the end. And I appreciate that because it was great.
Does he say, how do you spell your name? So it's WEA, go away. Something
and the I don't know if you saw this I went on like a YouTube tangent of all the interviews of James Franco and Tommy, and in the life rights contract that they had with Tommy required that he do a scene for the movie. But in the writing, it did not say that it had to be included in the final cut of the movie.
Exactly.
It just had to be filmed. So they held up their end of the bargain. It did not make it in the final cut. But I think they felt like they needed to put it in somewhere, so they put it at the very end.
And it ended up being, I think, the best end credits scene of any film ever. It was so perfect. So.
Tommy's grown as an actor. I'm just going to say it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Like, he was not terrible in that scene. He's grown as an actor.
Playing himself.
Well, this is what happens when you have a good director.
He played Henry.
Wouldn't it be insane, though, to see somebody playing you and interacting with them?
Yes.
I couldn't even imagine. Like, I have no idea what traits would even be the part that's being impersonated. I would love to see an expert impersonator impersonate me, and then it would make me really insecure about a lot of things, I'm sure. They'd start
They
off.
definitely need some basketball shorts.
They'd start off with, I'm a really rapid fire ummer, and I don't notice when I'm talking, but then I go back and listen to my podcast. I'm like, dang, I say every other word. Anyway, done on purpose that
there
time,
it is. You
guys.
captured it.
Okay, one other thing too, the air conditioning scene is also something I would have preferred to see taken over 2 different scenes.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Of drawing out, like, because they didn't complain about air conditioning at all until one scene, and then somebody collapses while they're complaining about it. I would like to see that be an ongoing thing. Them complaining about the air conditioning as we go along instead of just one scene of them complaining about it. Not that I want the whole movie of them complaining about AC, but just split that into 2 different scenes and have her collapse.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Like, show that
10
it
minutes
was
later.
an ongoing problem.
Right.
It wasn't just one day.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree.
But I get it. Like, I think you said it perfectly. They didn't want to dwell on anything, and I also want to reiterate too. I just don't think that they wanted the movie to be grating, which it easily could have been. It could have been like, for instance, the movie Pawn Sacrifice with Tobey Maguire about Bobby Fischer. Have you seen that, Karen?
No.
My experience with that movie, that was my worst movie of 2015, was so miserable because his neuroses as a character was unbearable to deal with. And that could have happened with this movie very, very easily because they just kept drilling it that he was insane. And it's like that they didn't want to spend the time on there and make it nails on a chalkboard every time that he's doing something, which it easily could have been. So I guess I understand. I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it was a comedy. It was set out as a
It was
comedy.
like a real
and they wanted to
Hollywood
make
comedy.
people laugh. Real
Exactly.
Hollywood comedy, and
Big
so they
Hollywood
did have to
comedy
keep
movie.
it. Yeah, they did have to keep it light and enjoyable. I'd love to talk about Seth Rogen's performance, the writing. I feel like he didn't have a ton of lines, but I got a solid belly laugh every time he talked.
Yeah.
So I love
Seth Rogen?
how they wrote that. Yeah.
There's-
I told you that.
Well, Seth
Every time
Rogen
he
was
said
like,
something, the way he delivered it was kind of like an audience surrogate type
Exactly,
of thing.
yeah.
yeah,
Just
exactly. He
the,
was
like-
us.
He was us going,
Yeah, he was us.
why did
and
they, like, who
what?
who wouldn't notice him
Why?
coming in? Who wouldn't notice him coming in?
Who wouldn't
Yeah,
recognize
and
that guy?
There's one
Yeah,
thing
I
that we
just-
haven't
I really
discussed
loved it.
that made us laugh every time it happened.
That's
That's every time he ha 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 ha.
Yeah.
Every time, like, he'd just be
Every
talking and out of
time.
nowhere, ha 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 ha. We would
That
just
was a Pavlovian response.
we would just scream of laughter every time. It never got old because he'd just be
Every
sitting there, ha 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 ha. It just made us laugh every time at the screen. Just
Yes.
ha 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 at the screen. Like, it made us laugh every time. And that was a great,
perfect.
a great part of it. Just
Perfection.
so well delivered.
and the scene of, why is he laughing at the scene? This is a serious scene. This is a serious scene. Hey, why don't we try a different reaction to you telling the story about a girl getting beat in a hospital and then ended up in a hospital? Okay, no problem.
This is
no problem.
life.
Yeah, this is live. And this is just all right. Fine.
Life
Let's
is not
go.
predictable.
I knew this one girl beat up about 12 guys. One of them found out about it, beat her up so bad she ended up in a hospital in Guerrero Street.
What a story, Mark.
What a story, Mark. What?
Yeah, you can say that.
Yeah,
again.
you can say that again. Somebody's better do something around here. That's another one of my favorite
What
ones.
kind of drugs?
What kind of drugs? What kind of money? What kind of money? And the fact that they recaptured her being off screen during that also. How they're
Yes.
not even centering the screen. That's why I said they captured the mise en scène of Tommy Wiseau very well, because they just, like, they had to unlearn a lot of their expertise. The filmmakers, like, I think that James Franco had to unlearn a lot of the things that he knew as a
Right.
director and as a filmmaker.
Yeah.
So I found that pretty. But
Yeah.
yeah. All right. Well, I think we've pretty much covered most of it.
I think so.
I think
I
so.
think we've had one of the more in-depth disaster artist conversations on the internet.
Yeah.
Tell all
That
your
is
friends.
right. And I could talk about this movie I will be talking about this movie for years. So
I don't
Yeah.
think that would be a good
Bottom
podcast
line,
episode, though.
Watch The Room,
Uh,
then watch The Disaster Artist, and enjoy.
Do you think
That's
a
right.
year-long podcast episode would be an exciting one? Hey, we'd be the first to do it. It'd be like Real Hollywood podcast.
Oh, could you imagine the interviews we could get?
I wish.
And just me snoring.
Mhm.
No, I'm never going to sleep the whole year. You'll see. All right. Well, why don't you tell people again where they can follow you on the internet, Karen?
I am at Karen M. Peterson on Twitter and at awardscircuit.com.
And she's going to be back here next week for The Last Jedi.
I will.
And Gina, want to tell people where they can follow you in real life or on the internet?
On the internet, you can follow me on Twitter at Gina Murtallo. That's GinaMirtallo. And you can find me at The Deuce Drop from our previous podcast about the HBO series The Deuce. We're also on Twitter.
You could probably find her at the Ken Cinema midnight screenings of The Room.
You definitely can.
Just yell out, Gina! Gina!
Everyone's like, wait, what part of the movie is that about?
There has to be
New
somebody
part?
that listens. I mean, it doesn't have to be, but there
I
could,
bet.
there could be San
Diego
Diegans that
that'll be
listen.
at the theater.
And-
Yeah, if
yeah.
you're there tonight.
Yeah.
I don't know when this is dropping,
Yeah,
but
no. Next time,
I'll be there.
yeah, we'll be there, so you could yell out Dylan or Gina, and I'll probably like, what the hell?
I'm the girl with the plastic spoons.
Yes, you gotta go with the spoons. For you can follow me at Shuckster, that's SCHUCKSTER. For the show, you can follow us at The Watch and Talk on Instagram or Twitter. You can go to facebook.com/The Watch and Talk, email us at thewatchandtalk@gmail.com, or go to our website at thewatchandtalk.com. And that's it. I'm Dylan Shuck.
I'm Karen Peterson.
And I'm Gina Murtallo.
And I'll see you next week. Oh, crap. That wasn't recording the whole time.
Shut up.
I'm just joking. That happened.
Dude, that was like a marathoner.
Hey,
How long is that podcast?
Hey, a podcast this long, that happened before, and I just messaged everybody when we discussed Thor. I messaged Karen. I messaged everybody that did it with us, and I was like, "Hey, I'm sorry, but I blew it, and the recording didn't capture." And what does Superman Karen respond? Oh, I recorded it. What's your email address? I'll send it right
I
over.
always have a backup.
Oh my
Karen's
god!
smart.
That's the day that I realized there was a God,
There you go.
and it's
And this
God,
episode is recording
forgive
as well
me.
in case you need it.
Yeah.
So
All
There
right.
you go.
Well, thank you very much, and
Yeah.
hopefully I'll see you tonight, Gina. And
Yeah, I'll try to make it.
Karen, I'll talk to you.
you guys have fun.
Yeah, well, you're gonna have fun next week.
Thanks.
I'm sure there's midnight screenings in LA like every weekend.
Probably. I'm
100%.
seeing it next Friday right near my house. So
There you go.
yeah, I'm excited.
All right, guys. Well, have a happy Saturday.
You
Yep,
too.
You too.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
And if anybody's still listening, bye bye.